Quiet on the set. Here we go. Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our Genia desks in the last week since last we met. Let's talk with our panelists for a little bit. We've got a full plate, a lot of things to discuss. There's Randy Seaver, our guy in California. Maria's over there in Pennsylvania. She's now hyphenated her name, so her name is Capaldi, Pennsylvania. I love it. That guy below me in the little chiclet view here is Mitch. He's going to be our guest, and we're going to find out about scanning capabilities. And then Hillary, our gal in Wales, Frank, our guy in Germany, and Frank reports that his mother's computer is working again. That's a good thing and a good sign. And Dan, our newest panelist, is here today. And yes, those are skateboards. That's his other passion besides helping us with great tools for improving our work with ancestry, etc. Those are very colorful, beautiful boards. And our gal here in Washington State, my fellow bread making personage, Jill, has joined us as well. And on the YouTube side, we have Ellen, who's visiting from California, from Canada. It's one of those CA abbreviation things. And also Sherry's over there welcoming you all. Let's see what's happening with comments from people. John is here. Greetings from somewhat sunny and cool Shaker Heights. And Valerie's here, foggy in southern Minnesota. And Hillary has said on the YouTube side, it's really cool in StreamYard. She can post here under comments and it goes over there. I love technology. Yeah, we're slightly cooler here. I was a little worried about internet because a tree went down on the other side of the island and we were knocked out of good internet. We had to rely on our cell phones, which you know are sketchy. Our guy Randy is reporting that Chula Vista is dry. That's kind of how it is, isn't it? Usually. It would be unusual if you weren't. He's going to stay warm in his Genia cave. Ellen is saying, I'm Canadian, but I'm staying in warm Arizona for a while. Smart cookie. Yeah, this is a good time to go to Arizona. It's not boiling, blastingly hot. And Sherry's over there welcoming everybody from rainy central Iowa. And lots of other folks. I see Deb Mullen and thank you for the hashtag. Can't think of anything to give away, but if something crops up during the show, yeah, there's a hashtag, and I appreciate that, Deb. And Gwen, Southern California, and she's brought some things to our attention lately. She's our de facto adjunct panelist. How's that? I got a lot of adjectives there. Anne is here from Scotland. Wonderful. And I hope you notice, Anne, that I have put a couple of things up about Scottish research in my YouTube channel. They were from a Scottish study group that we did a few years ago. And since we're talking history, a lot of those same record groups are still applicable these days. Deneen, our friend in California, is here. There's Jill. You're not even home in Washington State. You're back on the East Coast in Cape Cod. Heavens, girl. Maria says it's 63. There's Anne and Louis Kessler. Man, we have an abundance of Canadians in the building today. It's all good. All right. What are we doing first? I want to talk with Mitch. And so I'm going to ask everyone else, if Maria, if you would. Well, Frank, let's let you and Maria be the co-hosts today. Put the rest of them in the wings so that it's just me and Mitch. And I actually became aware of Mitch because I have flown the coop and am into blue sky, which is growing by 1 million new people every day, literally. That's the report I've been getting. But I didn't see you there. That's where I met you. But I already had seen the report on CBS, and that's not CBS in the US. Let me play that for you. Let me pull it up first. It would be good if I did that. Yeah, CBS. So that's the Canadian Broadcasting System,
Oh,
correct?
Central.
Central.
Central. CBS, Central Broadcasting. CBS Evening News.
All right, CBS Evening News. Quite a spotlight for sure. Okay, I'll make it full screen, and here we go.
Is the volume on?
All right, can everybody hear that on the YouTube side?
No, we can't hear it.
All right, it's possible. I want to hear from the YouTube side. Tell me, Louie, can you hear it? Dang. All right, let me do this. Let me turn up my volume really loud. Okay, you got that it's about preserving memories. No sound. Thank you for letting me know, Louie. All right, I'm going to hold the mic up. Sheesh. It's one of those days. It's all good. Here now?
Still no sound.
All right, so we're having problems with sound. So let's do this. Mitch, tell me what's happening here. This is Ed Asner's son.
Right. I'm saying if I could do the sound so we could sync.
Say again?
I'm going to see if I could do the sound if you'd like, so we could sync it.
Okay.
So, is the volume on it?
No, it's not playing right now. It's cycling out. Sheesh. All right, let's do closed captioning as Louis suggests. All right, one more try.
Yeah, I'll do the live play-by-play. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Great. CBS Evening News had millions of people around the country and so many more on all of their social media sites. This actually took 11 hours over 2 days. They interviewed two of my favorite customers, the famous actor Ed Asner's son, Matt Asner, who had us digitize his entire dad's history of photos. In the chats, let me know if you remember who Ed Asner is and which one was your favorite TV show, whether it was Lou Grant, Mary Tyler Moore, and literally like 100 others. But once it gets ready. So it took 2 days, and then they also filmed a really extraordinary event. It was the Cayman Islands had almost 400,000 photos, their entire history of the Cayman Islands that we digitized for them. And it took a while. There were film of negatives as well as photos. And what they did, if you go to the Scan My Photos website, under the blogs, we have links to their Time Back project. They're posting all of the most wonderful photos over the entire history of the Cayman Islands. Oh, do you think you have the sound?
Let's try it. I don't think so, but we'll see how it goes.
I have a better idea. Right on the Scan My Photos website, later on after the show, I don't want you to miss the show, just click on Scan My Photos, and there's a big banner that says CBS as in Central Broadcasting System, CBS in the States.
Okay.
Click on it, and you can
So
watch
here's,
the
I
video.
do like that idea. I do not give up. What a day. But
So,
the point of this is your client, you're seeing the impact that the saving of these photos has on a family. And this is extremely important. Boy, that's a huge library of photos.
and then that's
1,000 photos in
one of
under
our
5 minutes. Okay. Can you hear this? Okay, so talk to me about the Cayman Islands story.
Absolutely. This is an interesting one for genealogists because they have, as you'll see on the screen, 347,000 images, the entire history of the Cayman Islands, and they were hit by a devastating hurricane, which wiped out everything. And they found these boxes of film negatives for the major media outlet in the Cayman Islands. No one knew what it was, but it was meticulously marked. And as you know, in genealogy, it's so important to record everything. They had separate envelopes detailing all of the images. So they sent it to us. It was quite amazing to from Cayman Islands to Los Angeles, and then we digitized all of those at high resolution. Really important for genealogy. Please always do highest resolution. And the reason is because afterwards you can discover all types of things you may not have known otherwise. So you could zoom in, all of that. And we would send it back to them each week. And when you go to the website, you can see that story as well. But one of the things they did each week, we would upload them that series of scanned images. And they would get so excited. They were telling us, as in the story, they couldn't wait to see the next week's. And then they put together this outstanding website, the Time Back website, uh, showing all the pictures, and people are commenting, getting so emotional about seeing pictures of long lost relatives, places in the islands that they haven't seen in decades. And that's really the whole power of photography when it comes to genealogy. So that was a really special project. They put together the video explaining the whole process. And I'm sure
You
everyone
know,
has all those boxes and photos, slides, film, all of that to be done.
th- this is this is exactly the time of year when people think about sharing photos and they're overwhelmed because it's thousands of photos and the the concept of being of trusting someone. I would send it to you in batches of 3. Not that I don't trust you, I'm being silly. I would send it in batches, and you have a unique guarantee that it you turn it around within 24 hours. It's shipped back to them.
We do. If you select the express same day scanning, the images, all the orders come in, they're digitized, whether it's film, movie film, photos, slides. And if you select same day, it's back same day. But what's fascinating when we started this, we had a problem because people would reach out to us thinking there was a problem. And the problem was they got an email with a link to all their photos. They just assumed there was something wrong. But no photos have ever been lost. If you Google us, you'll see all the incredible reviews from experiences with the service. But it's more important to get everything to us now, especially with same-day scanning, because, look at the Cayman Islands, where if someone was hesitant to have a professional photo or archivist company digitize all your images, they could be wiped out in a hurricane, wildfire, flood. And one of the worst ones is just from mildew and time, where pictures start to fade. The saddest part is, if everyone remembers VHS cassettes, that's magnetic
Oh,
tape, right? And, you know, it's deteriorating so bad because it's magnetic tape that the images, the videos that you recorded of your family are disappearing. And if you remember the movie Back to the Future with that photo where everyone started to disappear, that's what happens with VHS cassettes. But one of the things that's really nice is the quality of 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, all those reels, Super 8 of home movie film. Those have to
mhm.
be digitized and shared because people are uploading now. You mentioned Blue Sky. It's not just of the food you ate last night or recent things. It's so much fun to share all those old generations past pictures from your childhood favorite memories, but
Mhm.
they're in attics and basements. They need to be digitized.
So, how long have you been doing this? What motivated you to start doing this?
You know, it's a great question. What happened was when I was very young, when I was 6 years old, I had my last picture with my dad. And I'm sure everyone listening remembers their most precious photo memory. And mine was a picture of my dad. You'll see it right on the website at Disneyland. And he was hugging me, and he passed away shortly afterwards. And
Mm,
that's my most precious possession. So I was always been involved in photography. But way back, 1990, my business partner, Carl Berman, and I started retail photo centers. Remember developing photos,
okay.
uh, and that was in Irvine, California. But as film transitioned to digital, we had to reinvent everything. So that's where we pioneered this new technology for crazy fast, high speed photo scanning. Our photo scanners digitize 1,000 pictures in under 5 minutes. I'm going to repeat that because people kind of freak. 1,000 pictures in under 5 minutes are slide scanning at 4,000 DPI is one per second. So it's just such a rewarding business helping people revisit all of their historic memories, especially when it comes to genealogy and archiving all of your history.
The concepts of having worked with the Cayman Islands, here we are showing the equipment of scanning from the strips, the slides. I guess it's a negative strip.
Right.
We've seen examples in this case where if you had not done the scanning work, Cayman Islands history would be gone.
All gone because right afterwards, Dave Malkoff, the CBS national correspondent who did the interview,
Mhm.
was profiling the Cayman Islands group, and they had said that right after they sent it to us, there was another devastating hurricane, so it was out of their facility.
Totally unbelievable. So, your fourth great grandfather, Dan, let's bring you up and talk about the photos you got of your fourth great grandfather from a second descendant of his second wife who inherited him. Now, you're relating to how important your personal history is from photos.
Yeah, it was a really impactful moment I had this week. I'm active in a Facebook group on local history, a group called Vintage Muskoka, which covers history of the Muskoka region here in Ontario, where my ancestors have been for 150 years. One of the things I do quite often in the group is sharing newspaper articles. I have like a repository of local newspapers, which I can quickly search through. So I'm quite active in the group and sharing stuff. But just happenstance, somebody posted some pictures that they inherited in the group this week. And it just so happened to be my fourth great grandfather, who had been spending about a year researching and writing his story from Scotland to Muskoka.
So you can't tell me she doesn't want to be discovered, right? she's there saying, "Ping me, ping me." There are no coincidences, but that is the joyous impact of preserved photos that somehow come to light. And it occurs to me, thank you, Dan. It occurs to me, Mitch, that societies, historical societies, need to use a service like this. Government agencies who only have X amount of dollars and X amount of employees to do this kind of preservation work, they don't have the equipment to do it and would need to use a service like yours. I love that picture.
That's a great point. We're working with very large institutions, one of the largest air and space museums right now, digitizing their entire history. They have slides and photos, but that's not their specialty. You know, that's why you could cook dinner at home or you could go out to a restaurant. And that's the same with us. If you scan at home, you know, it takes 2 minutes per slide. I see someone had asked if we could digitize the backs of photos. Absolutely, that's where the whole family history and story is, and handwriting. So if you select front and back scanning, all of those amazing memories are captured too.
I love it. Wow. Well, I apologize for the beginning of this interview because it was a little disruptive. But the point has been made. Now, I want to go visit your website. So somebody give me that link and I'll pull it up. And so that people will get the brand recognition and can recognize it. There's the project. So
just
Dart
scan my photos, scanmyphotos.com.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And talk to me a little bit more about, you know, your offices. Are they in Canada?
Sure, we're headquartered in the U.S. in Irvine, California. However, if you see under all the products, we do a lot of work with Canada. So just click on Canada, and you'll see the Canadian flag right over there in the lower right. But there's the CBS logo as well for that. And someone had asked about pricing. So in the U.S., if you have about 2,000 photos, it's $145 with free shipping. Just as a point of perspective, if you think how long it would take you, it's less than the cost of a scanner. But that CBS one is the link to the story, and the so if you click on CBS.
Yeah, let me send this link out to everybody on the YouTube side now that I can copy and paste. Okay, there's that video right there.
You know, I wonder if you click on the video, if it will work.
Okay, let me look at my screen share setting. Because one of the options you have to have turned on is always share the audio. Okay, we're going to say entire screen. All right, and
more than 3 million Americans are displaced by natural disasters every year. For many, the trauma does not end when the wildfire or storm is gone or when communities and homes are rebuilt. CBS's Dave Malkoff shows us how technology is helping to preserve memories.
This bookcase is filled with wonderful memories.
Matt Asner lives in the foothills that catch fire in the city that gave its name to the 6.7 Northridge earthquake.
5 of his Emmys were destroyed.
In the 94
In the 94 earthquake.
You may know his father.
This is what I remember when I remember my dad.
When CBS legend Ed Asner died 3 years ago, it was up to his son to save family history from the kind of disaster that's become more common as our Earth heats up.
This is from a CBS dinner. Carol O'Connor, John Ritter, Mary Tyler Moore was his big break. Ted Knight, Gavin McLeod, and my dad. This is my dad and Larry Fine from the Three Stooges.
But how do you protect
Okay.
this many paper photos?
It digitizes about 1,000 pictures in under 5 minutes.
This is Mitch Goldstone. He owns one of many companies that will do the scanning for you.
Over the years, there's been such an urgency, a race to have everything scanned before the next natural disaster, the wildfires, hurricanes.
And it's not just family memories. Even governments are looking to save history. These boxes are full of photos that have just been gathering dust.
We realized at that point in time that this wasn't storage. This was history.
Jackie Doak found them at the newspaper building where she works on the Cayman Islands.
Before Beryl came through, they sent all these boxes here.
Right, and they really had great timing because then the hurricane hit and they had everything digitized.
The Cayman Islands project was massive. We're talking 347,000 images. These are photos and negatives inside these boxes, all had to be scanned.
This is just one of those photos. For one family, it was an astounding find.
And she came up and put a message that said, "Oh my gosh, that is my mother when she was a child, and we don't have any photos because we lost them in Ivan."
You always see those the news stories where people are crying about what they've lost. They're not talking about their couch.
They're actually talking about the person who used to sit there, a memory now preserved. Dave Malkoff, CBS News in Northridge, California.
Incredible. All right, we even had sound on that. I love it. Thanks for that. Oh, that's an interesting view. All right. So, Mitch, thanks for pinging me on Blue Sky. That initiated our conversation. Thanks for being here today. I know your schedule's busy. You're welcome to stay the rest of the day, but thank you for showing us a little bit about what you do, what your concept is, and there are some questions, so let's see what we can do. So Frank here, let's pull Frank up, asks, what formats can you or your scanners handle? I imagine, go ahead.
Sure. The format is traditional JPEG images, and on the website, you choose your resolution. If you don't need high resolution, you save a bit of money just having everything digitized. But there is traditional JPEG files for all of that. And then they get uploaded directly to your email or saved on a 8 gigabyte flash drive or a DVD data disk if that's what you like.
Yeah, originally I meant the sizes of the pictures.
Oh, in terms of what we can scan or what?
Yep.
Oh, sure. So on photos from tiny wallet size 3 by 3 inch all the way up to 8 by 10 enlargements, and for slides, 35 millimeter slides, for film, 35 millimeter film plus medium format film, and then Super 8 millimeter, 8 millimeter film for all the old Kodak film, as well as something, I don't know if anyone remembers, but APS cartridges that was introduced by Fuji and Kodak in the 90s. They're small cartridges with up to 40 images in it. It's traditional film that's digitized. And the problem is nobody can digitize it because there's not equipment for it. So all of those old APS film cartridges have to be digitized. And we wanted to incentivize people to do it. So it's US $7.95 for any exposure.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Here's an interesting question from Dan, panelists, come on up. What about photo albums that'll likely be damaged? The photos in the albums. Oh, those sticky back kind of things with the plastic on top. How do you deal with that?
Dan, that's a great question. For photo albums, the images do need to be out of it. And the reason why is what we came up with at Scan My Photos was super, super affordable, easy digitization, where it's so fast. You saw the scanners. So if we were to remove the images from a photo album, literally it would take hours. And I didn't want to get involved with that because you're absolutely right. They're so delicate. And especially if you have images, photos from the 1800s and 1900s, for those, just use our live support and we can help you with that with individual hand scanning.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Um, so Randy has huge family portraits on the wall in his castle. He lives in the Ginia cave down in the dungeon. And so can you handle large photos like that?
Best thing to do is actually just take an image of those family portraits that are on the walls and all with your smartphone. Send them to us. Use our photo restoration service. And a lot of times it's so faded. You know, whenever I see a news story or even TV shows or movies where people are sitting in front of old family photos and frames, so many of them have been faded away and they need to be colorized and restored. So just use your smartphone for that individual picture, send it to us and select photo restoration, and it will look brand new like the day it was taken.
Okay. Wanda, hi Wanda. She's our award-winning person from last week's giveaway, a couple of weeks, whenever it was, but I recall. What about photos that are on CDs and DVDs from the 70s? That's a little scary because the edges start deteriorating, don't they?
Yeah. You mean from CDs?
They want
I'm
to know, she wants to know if you would digitize from that and do the photo improvement.
Oh, sure. Just go to the website and select photo restoration for that.
All right. And Louis Kessler, who's our techie guy, do you name or number the photos in some way that makes it easy to find them again from the package? Okay, so there's some naming scheme. It's proprietary, guys.
That's a wonderful question because everyone puts so much work into naming all the pictures. So easiest thing to do is to use an index card and separate these stacks of photos based on the content, what it's from, an anniversary, a celebration, special event, holiday, birthday, whatever it is. Just write on the index card as much information as you want, and then all the photos afterwards, just put them together, put a rubber band around it, and then select scan in order. And we digitize everything, including that top index card. Then afterwards, there are all types of really good programs where you can batch file. So whereas we give everything back to you in sequence, you can then select the first 100 photos of it from a trip to Europe and just rename all of those all at one click.
This is true. In fact, we ought to demonstrate that. Somebody make a note, and we'll do that next week and show how to do a batch rename. Thank you, Maria. She's got her sticky note for me. This is what I do when I go to the National Archives, where I'm looking at a folder of like my Civil War ancestors pension file. Cousin Russ and I did this. We bookended at the beginning with the call slip for that way we could even make our citation once we got home. Then we knew that everything after that that we digitized with our camera was regarding that file. And I also was super crazy and put that same thing at the end, that same call slip. And then to really remind me. So then when I'd look and I'd have several files, because I have more than one U.S. Civil War Union ancestor, I would see two green call slips in a row, and I'm like, oh, this is the beginning of the next set. So that's very good thinking, and that was a great question. Gwen suggests the trick. There's Gwen, one of our de facto panelists, not on screen today. Use unflavored dental floss to carefully remove. I also recommend that you look at the archive lady, Melissa Lemaster Barker, who knows about how to deal with the really sticky wicket photo albums. Dan, our panelist, is saying I had burned some CDs from photos in 2002, and they were quite difficult to retrieve. So he's commiserating with you, Wanda. He knows there's a problem there. Burned CDs have a shorter lifespan than commercial ones. I didn't know that. And you're agreeing with that. I see. You're shaking your head, yes?
I am, just like the VHS cassettes that they deteriorate. So it depends. You know, the worst one, and a lot of your viewers today may remember over the years on vacation, museums and all, where you would buy the 35 millimeter pre-taken slides of the museum. Do you remember those?
Yes, yes.
Well, here's the thing, because I'm very involved over the years, over the decades with Kodak. And one of the engineers at Kodak shared with me, unfortunately, a lot of those professionally produced slides that people would purchase, like the Vatican, wherever, were developed with the worst chemistry, the worst film. And we know which they are because they're all red. So we have to use special filters and adjust. And if anyone viewing remembers that those old slides that you bought professionally, a lot of them have deteriorated because of the bad chemistry. I just sent you a link if you wanted to able to share that on how to prepare the photos as well.
Okay, let me pull that up.
Hi, thanks for watching this video from Scan My.
All right, let me share the screen before we.
So it's super easy, but please make sure to always choose select scan in order so everything is digitized.
All right, here we go.
Hi, thanks for watching this video from scanmyphotos.com. In this video, we are going to show you how to prepare and ship your photos properly. First, let's make sure we have the necessary supplies. Item 1, the photos. Item 2, rubber bands. Items 3 and 4, a shipping box and tape. Items 5 and 6, note cards and a marker. Items 7 and 8, bubble wrap and tissue paper. Now that we have all our supplies, we need to organize our photos into groups. We also need to make sure our photos are facing the same way, and while you're going through them, make sure there are no copyrighted photos. If there are, you need to send a signed waiver from the copyright owner, allowing duplication with the shipment. When grouping the photos, you'll want to put the same trip, event, or memory all together. The next step is to label all the piles that you have made. Write what each memory is and set the note card on top of the pile. Make sure the note card is the same size as the pile it is being put on. If it's not, you may need to cut it to size or get bigger cards. This process will make it easier to identify the photos when you are going through them. Now that we have each memory labeled, we want to organize the photos by size and put them in stacks of 100 to 150. Secure these stacks with a rubber band and make sure to remove any glue, tape, or sticky notes from the photos. With the stacks secured, now it's time to put them in the box for shipping. You'll want to start by putting a layer of bubble wrap and tissue paper along the bottom and sides of the box to protect your photos. Please do not use packing peanuts as they can break and leave pieces on your photos, affecting the quality of the scan. Place the photos so the weight is evenly distributed across the box. Add another layer of tissue paper and bubble wrap to again protect your photos from getting damaged during shipping. And finally, make sure that you put your order form inside the box. Once everything is inside, tape up the box, making sure to tape up all the seams, corners, and edges for the utmost protection of your priceless memories. Now sit back and capture more memories while these ones are being preserved for a lifetime.
Love it. See, he had a video for that, but wait. I love it.
You know, I see someone had said about international orders. We deal with Canada all the time. So remember, if you're up north, because we're down south, just go to the website, click on the Canadian flag.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, we redeemed ourselves. And thanks to those of you on the YouTube side for being patient till we got to a spot where the sound actually came through so y'all could hear. And the links that I've sent to the fuller story about the Cayman Islands is something you'll want to click on. If somebody could share that again right now on the YouTube side, I'd appreciate that. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. And we're going to talk with Hillary for a little bit. Hillary, welcome. We have been wanting to talk about this, but your ancestors have known that you were going to be discovering more exciting things. And so now you're ready to tell us the full story of some of your breakthroughs. Do you want me to pull your screen share up, or do you want to talk first?
You can pull the screen share up and we'll talk through the blog post. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
All right.
I started a series of how identifying DNA matches and things have helped me look at for people that I haven't actually, I don't know because they weren't in the records that I had. So, and my great grandfather, who I will bring up in another tab and show you who I'm talking about. Oh, it's come up in the same tab. I'll go back when I've finished. This is my great grandfather, Edmund John Compton, on WikiTree. And as you can see, I've only got a mother for him on WikiTree. I haven't got any father. He's got siblings, but they're all half siblings, as you can see. There they all say half siblings. They're all Curtises. And I wasn't. It was quite a few years after he was born before his mother actually married the father of all his half siblings there. So I wasn't totally convinced that he was the father of their the same father as all the siblings. So I've for a long time I've not known who his father was, or not even had any real clues as to who his father was.
Can I ask a question here, or make a comment?
Yeah.
We know that you're a major WikiTree contributor and that you foster source-a-thons for your part of the world, etc., when they are held. But you also have a personal database on your home computer.
Yeah, I do have a personal database. Yeah.
And that's something I want to be sure that people remember. It isn't that I don't want you to have a tree on WikiTree. In fact, I'm very happy to have a tree on WikiTree. It's that you need to have it somewhere else too, like on your personal computer. Okay, so we're back to your blog post, and you're now reviewing everything.
Yeah. So I thought, well, review everything, because it might be that I've overlooked something. That's why I've said review everything for this. He was born in Warminster Workhouse, and his mother, as we know, was unmarried, and she was born in a place called Fisherton de la Mare, which is in Wiltshire, and she was living there in 1841. He was born in 1855, so would have expected her to have a sort of, this would be a settlement for her if she was in that parish, and that would be covered by Wilton Workhouse. So she obviously wasn't living in Fisherton de la Mare when she had her son, or she became pregnant, so that she would need to be, because normally they would make sure if it was a woman that was unmarried and she had to go to the workhouse, that they'd go to the workhouse covering that particular area. So
right. Well, let me ask something here, because that's news to me. When the woman becomes pregnant out of wedlock, historically in England, this is England, right? Not Wales.
Yeah.
Okay. And she would go, her family would not take care of her. She would definitely go to a workhouse, or 90% of the time, or what?
If she became dependent on the parish, in other words, because she was pregnant, she could no longer, well, particularly in the later stages of pregnancy, or if they found out that she was pregnant, she perhaps lose her job. Unless she's got family to support her, then what we do know is that her mother had been widowed quite young, and then she was her grandmother had see, his mother. So Martha, who was his mother, her mother had remarried, and so it was possible that when the daughter became pregnant, and she wasn't obviously part of the husband's family, he was a stepmother, that she wasn't. But also, when I look on my next bit, in 1851, which was the census between just the closest census to when she had him, she wasn't actually living in Wiltshire, because we actually find her in 1851 census. We find that she's actually living in a place called Sherborne in Dorset, which is the neighbouring county, and she's working there as a silk winder. So, given that that's the closest census to when he was born, it's possible that the father was somebody actually in that area, maybe, rather than necessarily in Wiltshire.
So do you see, those of you who are watching this, do you see the logic that Hillary is using? Because even though the question she has is who's the daddy, she's looking at where's the mom. Look at the logic that she's employing, and in having found a different locality for the possible father. Okay, go ahead. I mean,
yeah, and also we've also got to look at the fact that Warminster was like Sherborne. It had silk mills, so she'd obviously moved from somewhere where she could get employment, and that in that was similar to what she may have been doing in the Warminster area previously, because the parish where she was born is actually not that far from Warminster. So I just sort of thought, well, who is his father? I went on DNA matches had sort of they've been helpful in confirming things that I'd found previously. So I thought, well, have a look. On the 29th of October, I actually went to a Zoom talk, which was talking about how to use some of your DNA matches and grouping them and everything and that. So I'd already done some of this grouping, and I had a whole load of matches that didn't fit into any of the groups that I'd already found. So they really were sort of unidentified maternal matches. They were matching on the maternal side, so that was quite useful. And I had sort of, because I've got two great grandfathers on that maternal side, it's working out who it was, if there were a match, which one were they matching on, or possibly. So once I'd assigned sort of the others, I then started looking at, and the following day I started looking a bit more closely at this, there were a number. I noticed that I had a number of them which had the surname Jeffrey, or a variant in their tree. And I was just thinking, are they all connected? Could this be my missing link? And one in particular stood out. This one. This is somebody that actually had at least some of their tree in on, and this was the bit that was sort of interesting with the match. Got this person up on my other thing. I've got this person that was there actually matched with a first cousin once removed, who I actually know who they are.
Wow, that's good match. Yeah.
And they've matched with some more distant ones as well. So I was thinking, well, if they're matching with these close people, I know where these people fit into my tree. I've actually put a couple of them on a DNA spreadsheet that I've set up. So they must be somewhere connected with those ones. So, right. Now, I
I should mention you've done a good job of the use of a blurring tool, and that's one that we know of because of Dan Maloney's work here. So that it makes it a lot easier for you to show what, I mean, you did do a screenshot for your blog, but for you to ever talk about it live, it automatically blurs the identifying of living individuals, which is which we need to follow as a general guideline. And so I've just added that link to comments so the people on the YouTube side will have the link to that ancestry blurring tool by our friend Dan Maloney, the genealogy assistant. Okay, back to you, Hillary. This is fascinating.
Right, this is the person who was in the top of that tree. This is the Samuel Jeffrey that was in that tree. And I've got him on the family search family tree here. So we can see this person was born in Sherborne in Dorset. So he's there, Sherborne. In 1851, he's there in Sherborne as well. So they're in the same town as Martha was in. And he married in 1838, but and then he married again in 1858. So, but if we go to the 1851 census, I'll find the source.
Okay.
You see, he's a widower. So although he'd been married, by the time we get to 1851, he's a widower. So he's got children, quite a few children. So he was looking possible, and I think all his children were really too young for any of them to have been a candidate. So it's either him or a sibling.
Okay, so yes, it couldn't be a son because the children are very young.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got does he have a brother? Do you know that part yet?
We know this is his parents, and we knew he had all these siblings and that. And I've actually looked into all the siblings, and it doesn't look likely that any of them would have been the father, because I've looked where they were on the censuses and whether they were in the area, and none of them looked that like they would be. And then to top it all, I found another record. I
love it.
I found this Marthas, it said on the transcription, but it was actually Martha. This was on the 30th of July, 1854. Oh,
good, she's zooming in.
We've got Samuel Jeffrey, a widower, and Martha Compton, spinster, both of this parish, marriage banns.
Oh my God!
The marriage never took place. But given the timing of those marriage banns, July, August of 1854, and that Edmund was born in the April of 1855, I'm highly suspecting that he is the father of Edmund.
I am convinced. Oh, you must have died when you found that.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I've actually put a link to those marriage banns on Martha's thing in WikiTree, but I've not actually added Samuel in as the father of Edmund yet. So I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get any more conclusive than that, really.
So this is exactly what we need to do, is write up our conclusions. You know, here's the problem, here's where she was, she moved and now is in this area, etc. Just like Hillary showed us in her blog post, that's a client report. That's a proof argument. Here is the evidence that I have. We didn't actually look at every one of the gentleman's brothers, but she did, and I trust her. And for brevity's sake, she didn't include all that. But this is incredible and highly likely. And that is what we write up and put in comments about why you believe this is the father. And are proof arguments etched in stone, Hillary?
No, and after I added Samuel as the father, I came up with some more DNA matches.
Oh my gosh!
So,
all right, so
basically, I feel that from the through lines, I came up with more DNA matches after I did that. I've got a DNA match through his Samuel's son Frederick to about 4 other people.
So it is shaping up. It really is shaping up to further prove it. And that's the thing about writing these research reports to ourselves. You could do it in a blog. You could put it in notes for that person. As new information comes along, it could either prove or disprove what we have concluded. And I think Hillary's got a great example. Let's see, Randy, come on up and let's get your comment on the recording. Here we go.
Yeah, we all have to consider what we know about a person or a family or a place or history as current thinking. You know, I know Russ used that term quite a bit. And then we have to be open to adding new information. So every time a new database comes out from one of my areas, I go check, you know.
I get it. It's her current thinking, and you kind of want to do it because if she doesn't come back to this for 10 years, she's not going to remember that she didn't check every single sibling of that gentleman. I mean, that is about as convincing an argument as you can get once you found that marriage ban. Can you explain what a marriage ban is for people that haven't done that kind of research before? Remember, old Myrt here wants to focus on beginning genealogy concepts.
Yeah, marriage ban. If you get married in the Church of England or what is the Anglican Church, you have bans read, and they read them for 3 consecutive weeks before the marriage takes place. It should really be quite soon before the marriage takes place, but sometimes there can be a bit of a lag. Sometimes things get postponed for whatever reason. And it's really they've read in the church so that if anybody's got any objections, they know that these 2 people are planning to get married. If they know there's a good reason for them not to get married, then they can do that. But it's not all the churches. I mean, a church I got married in, they didn't do marriage bans. You had to go and register with the register office that you wanted to get married and that you were resident in that area so that you could get married in that church. And it's probably changed since then. I know they've changed a lot of our marriage laws over here since then.
Well, these are all good concepts to be bringing up. Marriage bans are a possibility. The Quakers that cousin Russ and I have in common, they made an announcement in advance. My own parents were escaped or took a ferry to Port Orchard, which was the Gretna Green of its day. If you did not want your application for a marriage license to show up in the local Seattle, Washington newspapers, you would go to Port Orchard because that, it was published over there in the newspaper, but it didn't make the Seattle paper. And I was born about 6.5 months after the marriage was actually performed. It took forever to find their marriage. They wouldn't tell me. They were divorced, and it was acrimonious, to say the least.
I've got something like that in my tree. Somebody got married, and it got to the stage that the one of the big wedding anniversaries was celebrated a year earlier because they hadn't admitted that they got married so close to the birth.
These things happen. Also, just because there was a marriage license issued doesn't mean that the marriage was actually performed. You have to have the return of the marriage, that it's a little slip of paper or whatever it is that's a mechanism for the minister or the clerk of the court, the magistrate, whomever, needs to say that this couple came before me and I did perform the marriage ceremony on such and such a date. Betty Lou says that marriage bans can be found in many places, and sometimes they are used as proof of marriage. But it is open to new information because it isn't the actual marriage return. But it depends. I mean, like every state in the United States has different laws because the state legislature sets up guidelines. There are no federal guidelines for marriage, eligibility, age, etc. Yeah. And by the way, you have a cousin. Gwen says she's 25 degrees from you. So we have a bingo. We have a cousin match. Yeah, DNA doesn't go back that far, but yeah, that's pretty cool. That is a few generations back.
Yes, it is.
I love it. Okay, Hillary, that was breakthrough. And we had to wait until that marriage ban thing happened and the new DNA coming in to get the whole picture, because we were pretty excited with what you were coming up with even halfway through the story. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anything else before we switch gears?
No, I think that's it, because everybody can look at it. We've got a link to the blog post there so people can read it for themselves. So.
Okay, yes, we did. And thank you for talking about this. Well, if somebody would, Hillary, would you bring Randy up? And I just want to talk about this concept that he had in a blog post actually a number of weeks ago. Let me share my screen. And thank you, Hillary. I appreciate you. Okay, Randy, a couple of weeks ago, a little rabbit hole happened. You went through a little rabbit hole thing. And let me bring that up, and we're going to have to screen share from scratch. And this is a very basic concept about localities. So talk to me about this.
Well, I've been doing this 36 years. And up until now, recently, I use the current place name for a locality instead of a true historical place name. So my latest rabbit hole project, which I work on at least several times a week, is really twofold. Updating my place names to historical place names and also adding short narrative sketches to my ancestral families in the notes. So we'll just talk about the place names, but the blog post addresses both. So I got over 73,000 person profiles in my family tree database. And those are ancestral families. They are descendants of fourth and fifth grandparents for DNA purposes. And, one name studies for a number of my surnames, etc. So, so I'm using current place names. Then you end up, maybe the county didn't exist when an event happened. Maybe a state didn't exist when an event happened. Maybe a country has changed names since the event happened. So, as an example, use Medfield, Massachusetts. Okay, I have like 3% of 5 or 6% of my ancestry were in Medfield at some point in time, and almost all of them before 1793. So before 1692, Medfield was in Suffolk County, with the county seat being Boston. And before 1770, and in Massachusetts Bay Colony as part of British colonial America. So Family Search uses those terms for everything before 1776, although between 1692 and before 1776, Medfield was in Suffolk province of Massachusetts Bay in British colonial America. And then between 1776 and 1793, Medfield was in Suffolk, Massachusetts State in the United States. And since 1793, Medfield has been in Norfolk County in Massachusetts. So that's an easy one. There are some that are really difficult. There was something called Old Norfolk County, Massachusetts Bay Colony, in northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire. It encompassed all the northern towns of Essex County, Massachusetts, that are on the Merrimack River, which is near the boundary with New Hampshire. And then the existing towns before 1680 in New Hampshire, now New Hampshire, were part of Old Norfolk County. And then in 1680, the New Hampshire colony was formed. So it's endless. What about Maine? Before 1651, the settlements in Maine were part of the province of Maine, etc. So I have a great map that I found on Wikipedia, and so I can use it. And so it shows, it kind of encapsulates all the variations here. So I've been going through my database. Of those 73,000 people, I think I probably have 20 or 30,000 who were living not in the United States before 1776. Vermont is another difficult one, but still. So how do I fix that? Okay, I could use Roots Magic. I can change a place name in Roots Magic and it would apply to every instance. But I found that I have several thousand entries for some of the towns in Massachusetts, and maybe half of them were before 1776. So I can't just change them all and have the 1850 record say Massachusetts Bay Colony, British colonial America, can I?
Yeah, that won't work. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, you can do it, but it's a mess.
Yeah, I have to change one or the other. So I'm going through my family tree one line at a time and doing not only the historical place name changes, but also I'm reviewing the family information that I have, and adding sources that I may have that I didn't source at the time. And then I'm writing these short biographical sketches using Roots Magic's narrative style, and adding that to usually the husband of a couple at the top of my person notes. And if I have other notes for them, I don't use research logs regularly, but I do add content from references into research notes for each family. And so I add the short biographical sketch with sources, and then under a heading research notes within the same note, I keep all those notes. So basically I'm updating my database. It's been 20, 30 years for some of these people. That's part of what we do. And hopefully I'll have a better review by the time I'm finished.
It's really important that we use the correct name at the time of the event, as Randy said. I have ancestors that were in Kentucky. But when they were in Kentucky initially, remember that there were 13 county boundary changes for one spot where they and their descendants lived in Kentucky. About halfway back, 6 or 7 county changes back, it was part of Virginia, because Virginia went all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River. Why do we care? Because those are different courthouses that had jurisdiction over that spot of land.
Yep.
And so we know that land records and court records and tax records and all those kinds of things here in the United States are found in courthouses, and so we need to know what that historical name was. Now, John brings something in here that I'm glad you brought up, John. Of course, Randy's right. Every event should have 2 locations, one at the time of the event and one for the modern. And Cousin Russ was very adamant about that, because if what you want to do is take a trip to the place where your ancestor once lived, and I know that's challenging for some places in England, finding some tiny little place on the map. Randy's talked to us about that in the past. We want to know what that area is called now, or where the churches are, where the cemetery is, etc. And we're only going to find that by doing research on that spot on the face of the earth at this time. All right, we got some more comments coming up. Let's see. Let me scroll back. Gosh, a lot of feedback. Well, your fellow panelist says that's a monumental task. I would love if there was an easier way to do this for a database as large as yours. And that really is the challenge that you've had, Randy, is if you make it Massachusetts Bay Colony, British Columbia, or British whatever it was, it's not always that. It could still be the Massachusetts Bay Colony, not just British North America. So, and you do have to pick and choose. It's a mess. Deanne, your fellow panelist, is saying my wife's family came to Canada from this place in Hungary that I'm not going to begin to pronounce. It's now in Slovenia, but was formerly in Yugoslavia. Yeah, this is an important discussion to be having. Let's see what this, how would you address places claimed by 2 different states, like Washington County, Pennsylvania, and other overlapping places? There may be 2 correct locations prior to the Mason-Dixon line. That's a good question, isn't it, Randy?
Yeah, I would suggest that you really want to know where the record for it is, and then that might help you. But it's not,
You need to know which side, and you're going to be going to one courthouse, 50-50 chance of getting the right one first to find those records. And then you would know if you could call it Pennsylvania, or you could call it, I don't know, does it overlap then with Maryland because of that Mason-Dixon line?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or Virginia.
I think so.
Virginia.
Or that part of Virginia. And then remember, Virginia included, West Virginia didn't happen until the Civil War.
Yep.
And it wanted to separate itself from Virginia and slavery and all of that. So that's when West Virginia came in.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're right. We have to do our research with the court records. Hopefully there's something online that lets you know which it is. Sherry says, I love the current thinking mindset. As we learn more, we do better. And the rework of early work is an ongoing project. And Gwen says, the reasoning about two places is that you need to check both localities. Yep. And Frank says, don't get me started on the renaming of places due to wars. Former parts of Germany are crazy with renaming. I hear you. And then Hillary says, it is unlikely that anyone will have used the same location name through history. It is something we all need to be aware of, as we can easily get a location wrong if we don't know exactly where. Also, typos can happen. There's a place called Davies County. I think it's Missouri, but I could be wrong. And I typed Davis. That's how I transcribed it. And so until somebody saw that in some report I'd done and pointed out there's no such county as Davis, it's Davies, then that made sense why I wasn't finding things. We really do kind of have to have peer review through WikiTree or something like that to help us overcome our own human errors, let alone the fact that governments changed and entire countries changed. Doesn't
Davies have two S's on the end of it?
It might. I don't know. I can't recall. Just remember Davis.
Joe Davies County. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where.
And then Family Search Wiki. I want to talk to you about place names, because right now there are ongoing issues with the place as it is called and what it really is called. And we know this from Audrey Collins, may she rest in peace, and that they've had to come forward many times. Same thing in Australia with it's got to be the record title plus the correct locality at the time. So you can't just look up. I mean, I don't know if Melbourne's always been in the Victoria's part of Australia. I don't know. But I know that Washington State, where I live, this used to be part of the it was a territory before it was a state, and before that it was part of the Oregon Territory, even though it was Washington. Yeah, but you have, generally speaking, the Family Search Wiki is a big help with place names. Yeah, let's see. In England and Wales, we have places with the same name in the same county. That's really tricky. And this is why we must be specific in the naming of a locality. We can't assume if we get something like Boston, that they were born in Boston. I'm sure there's more than one Boston in the United States. That's something we could look up. We cannot just assume it's Massachusetts. Yeah, and counties are repeated, yes. So Betty Lou, remember, she's doing that research in Italy. Only one actually has a name change so far that she's found, because it has a one-letter difference between the French and the Italian spelling of the name. That's the thing. We haven't even talked about differences in in language and how it's referred to. Yes, and it's Davies County, Kentucky. Thank you, Bill. Well, I was close. See, don't take me at my word. What the heck does old Myrt know? I hear you. So this topic has been on our docket and it kept getting pushed forward, but it is an important topic. Are you here because I have 10 minutes to go, Maria?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for being my timer.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see what we did or didn't get to talk about today. All right. I want you to know that I have let me just quickly do this lightning round. And I'm going to have to stop screen sharing. I guess I have. Okay, I will screen share. All right. So I'm going to send some links out to the rest of the world. There are 16 Bostons in the United States. Thank you, Sherry, for telling me that. Okay. I'm going to give you links. Not that one. Let's go like this. And this is the lightning round for today. First of all, I uploaded or activated a series of archived British and Irish military study group items. And there's not a space between that and the URL, so it won't be clickable. There, let's try that. And I also included the study group handout. It was in Google Sheet format. That's how we did it in those days. I've also started working on, but haven't finished, our Scotland study group videos for your consumption there. The other thing that has come up lately is a discussion about military records in the United States and what is a morning report. And I shared this in one place, but it seems to me that's from Jennifer Hollick. And morning reports were done every morning. It's who showed up to muster that morning. And were they out on a detachment? I have a guy in Merrill's Horse during the Civil War, and he was often out on a detachment. At the same time, 2 or 3 other people were on detachment. But those details of their detachment assignments are not in the morning report. It just says they're on detachment. When they came back, they were returned from detachment weeks later. It could also list if somebody was in sick bay or AWOL. Okay, we're skipping that one. I want to mention something in the news that ties back to what we talked about first thing this morning, and that was the possibility of floods and hurricanes. Right now in Melbourne, Australia, there has been a flood so great that, and there's the link for it, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, going to put that one off. Here's a very practical thing. My writing accountability partner, Miriam, pointed out to me that I'd been making a mistake when I was typing in a URL. If what you want to do is go to newspaper archive, don't pluralize it, because it becomes, if it's singular, it gets you to newspaper archive. If you put it with an S at the end, it is directed toward genealogy bank. And so I could never get to it. I mean, I was having trouble. Thanks to her help, we're okay. Gee, I didn't know I could do this kind of a setup where I would be big and the shared screen would be little. Crazy. Okay. Also, I want to know if anyone here has been having trouble with Evernote. This is a post that's been going around. It's from Facebook. Apparently, Evernote is planning to greatly increase their price. And so there's some issues with that. Anybody got a problem with that, or has that come across your desk? I want you to be aware of it, because I know Cousin Russ would have been right on this and very concerned. Jill says she uses the free site, so that's working out okay. Let's pull all the panelists up, and I'll share screen with them in just a bit. Yeah, that was pretty upsetting, because a lot of people do their thinking before they put anything in their genealogy database. Gwen doesn't use it anymore. She only had the free version. And for Sherry, it raised its rates last year dramatically, and another raise announced this year. And Ellen, hi Ellen, saw the price increase. She stopped using Evernote after they were hacked and didn't tell their customers. Yeah, that's kind of a reality, unfortunately, these days. I want to just talk with you one-on-one. I know that we each have genealogy programs on our home computers. And you might have it on the laptop, because that's your home computer. Hillary and Randy and I, that I know of, have good trees on Wikitree. And I want to know, where do you do the writing of your thinking? Now, Hillary showed us an example of having a blog post to write up her thinking. We are getting feedback, so let me know. That was my remote speaker when I was trying to get the sound working earlier. Where do you do your thinking before you put your conclusions in your genealogy software? Do you set up a separate database for the not yet proved people? What do you do? Randy has told us a little. Let's go to Jill. Let's get Jill on this conversation first.
So I also use Roots Magic like Randy does. And I've created a number of custom facts, which are like research notes, research analysis, and research conclusion. And so if I have a problem, even if I've done nothing at all about it, I'm just trying to remind myself that I've got a problem here, I will record it in something like research notes. And I'll date it, and I'll say, this has got a problem. It seems like I might have two people with the same name, for example. And
okay, so is this like under events for that person?
Just an event. It's just an event.
It's like an event that you've added to a person's profile.
Right,
and it's right there. Yeah.
It's right there, to a point of where I was at Family Search Library pre-COVID, and I brought up something that I had written in 2016, and I could start immediately where I was, and I was talking to a consultant. And so I could identify my problem, I could get it across, I could tell her what I had looked at already. So it was really a big help. When I start thinking about it a little more, just a little more, I'll do the research analysis, where I'll start saying, yeah, there's 4 guys here with the same name. I'm in Scandinavia a lot. And there's 4 guys and they have all the same name, and I don't know which one is the father, kind of thing. So I'll have those kind of notes. And then I might even have a sentence about each one. This guy seems to be too old. This guy, was 6 years old, probably not the father. That sort of thing. I'll make little funny notes about, what they are. If it gets big, if it gets to be involving indirect evidence, not direct evidence, but indirect evidence, at that point, I shift over to Word, or I'm on a Mac and I shift over to Pages, my word processing system. And I actually write a research report on that particular problem. But that means I've already gone through some of this initial stuff already.
Yeah, the concept of not having our current thinking from 2016 somewhere closely related, you're going to forget that you got it somewhere else.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
by adding it, it's a great idea to add it as an event for a person, like birth, marriage, death. This is the research conundrum. It's right there, and you can pull up and see it in the notes for that event. And that was a quick study for yourself when you had to get reoriented
Right. Right.
to what was going on.
Right.
I can
And the
see doing
research
that.
consultant at Family Search Library was really impressed.
Well, I am impressed too. That's awesome. All right. Frank, I don't know if you're doing personal research right now. I know your archive has moved things around and you've been really busy with that. What do you do when you're researching? I used to keep paper notes and scan them. I'm now scanning them when I run across them. I'm not hearing you, Derek. You must be muted in line because you're.
Nope.
There you are.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Wonderful. I actually write them down as well when I have research problems, because somehow I remember it more when I write it down with a pencil or a pen.
That you and I have brains that work that way.
When I click it in the computer, I don't remember it the day later.
You know, that's brilliant that we've got 2 points of view, and I take the modified point of view. I agree. It sinks in my brain better, all my little sketches of what I think or not think, but I can add that as an attachment to that research event for that person. Just scan it. And so Betty Lou has a request. I don't know if you're going to be here next week, but could you at some point in the future just pull up your a profile of an ancestor and show what that looks like, and show how you could add a new event? Thank you.
Yep, can do.
And Maria says she would love to see that. Let's see. Gwen is saying she has 3 other Facebook pages where she posts and a blog post, blogspot. A blogger page. It's mainly where she does her thinking. We like that custom fact idea, and she uses research notes and Roots Magic. And part of why I asked you was, did you add it as an event? Is that so tied to that person, more so than the kind of research notes that I saw Cousin Russ using in Family Tree Maker? It was still there, but it wasn't as obvious as it's right in there with birth, marriage, and death.
Right. Well, I have as many people in my database as Randy does, maybe a little less. But it's, you know, I'm not researching every person that's got a problem. You know, I mean, you just can't, you know, because every line's got probably 5 problems. So there's some that are bigger than others, and others I want to research, and some I don't. And so, you know, just having that there. I don't do well with pieces of paper because they get scattered, I lose them, and I don't scan them, and I'm lazy. So it's just a whole lot easier for me to put it right there.
So
and sometimes I stumble along the guy, you know, I go, oh, well, that does sound like a good problem.
Yeah. It's how does your brain work on the problem? And Frank and I have recognized we're tactile. And I also recognize that it helps to have married a genealogist. He's actually a military historian who got into genealogy, and I'm getting into military history, let's put it that way. Because by my voicing it to him, I'm reasoning it out. And so whatever works. Maria says she's going to do that in Family Tree Maker. And Sherry's saying Family Tree Maker offers a research note which can be included in a report. Yes, we need to give ourselves these research notes, our current thinking. Cousin Russ is up there in heaven smiling down on us now and realizes we are encouraging each other to do that. I don't think research notes are transferred in a custom fact or are custom facts if it's a Gen Con. That's why I would buy Roots Magic for my nephew, who is now interested in climbing Mr. Myrt's side of the family tree. It's Mr. Myrt's nephew. I'd want them to have a direct backup copy that they can restore on their computer. All right, we got a lot. We went over, but I think this was an important discussion. A lot of feedback. We're hearing that sound, that feedback. I don't know who it is, but it's okay. We got through it. And basically, there's nothing left to say. But I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. Great show. That's a wrap.